Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Super Show podcast, the weekly gaming podcast that brings you all you need to know from the wonderful world of games. I'm your host this week, Jamie, and joining me, as ever, the Holy Trinity reunited once again, although we're rarely ever apart. Chris is here.
Hello.
Wow, enthusiasm, love it. Jonesy, give me a little bit more.
Howdy, Jamie. It's great to be back with you
there we
another
go.
week. Thank you so much for hosting.
Oh, you know what? It's an absolute pleasure. You guys know how much I love doing this. That's why I put my name forward every week in, week out, without fail. And if you guys didn't put me down so much, if you guys didn't deny me the opportunity, I'd be hosting every week. But here we are. Yeah. This is the reality.
Jamie, what does it feel like to live your life as a lie?
Do you know what? They call it imposter syndrome, don't they? Where you don't feel like you belong in the situation you're in, and that is my reality. Every waking moment, I wake up and I'm like, I shouldn't be on the Super Show podcast. What am I doing here? I don't know anything about games. I can't host. I can't tell jokes. But here we go. We just have to make do. You know what, Chris? A famous comedian once said in life, you don't choose the hand you're dealt. But here I am. I've got a seat at the table. I just got to play my cards right. You with me?
Who said that?
Deep. So deep.
Alan Partridge.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
No wonder.
I base a lot of my life decisions off him. Anyway, this is, believe it or not, a gaming podcast, and we are available on a number of different platforms. You might be watching us on YouTube right now. You might be listening to us on a podcast platform of your choice. Whatever you're doing, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, why not stretch your legs a little bit, and push the boat out? If you're watching on YouTube this week, you could listen to us on Spotify next week. If you're listening to us on Spotify right now, you can watch us on YouTube next week. Mix it up. We're also on social media platforms like Twitter at SuperShowPod. You can message us. I don't know if we'll reply. It's a waiting game right now, to be honest. It probably depends. Yeah. What would you say the variable is? How engaging the message is?
No, it's if I can be bothered to change my Twitter around to the Super Show Twitter and check. I'll do it right now. Let's have a look. Oh, one notification.
Do you know what? Let's do a live Twitter response on the podcast to prove that we are social media savvy.
Well, no one's messaged us in a long time.
We shout out this Twitter handle.
We don't say anything.
No, fuck
I'll
you,
tell
Jonesy. We say at Super Show Pod at the beginning of every single one of these fuckers.
Yeah, but people don't message us.
The Super Show Twitter never tweets anything. It's always, we do it from our own ones. And we always tag Super Show, but we never actually message from Super Show.
Wait, are the Super Show's DMs open?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Check the Super Show's DMs live on there.
Okay. So a brand new DM from Jamie with the tag at FullFatJamie. And underneath, for some reason, it just says movie magic. And he says, fuck you. So I'm gonna give that a heart. And I'm going to say, fuck you.
So I'm getting notifications on my phone for some reason. Not sure why.
There we go. Weird.
I don't know.
Yeah, do us a favour. If you're listening to this or watching this, open your app, get onto Twitter and just DM us, fuck you. And then we'll have lots of lovely
Send Jamie dick pics.
I'm going to step in. Host privileges here. I'm going to say don't do either of those things. But actually, maybe you can DM us if you want. Okay, the DMs are open for a reason. Just say something nice. Can I
get some boob pics, male or female? I don't care. Just
Can we have an
cleavage.
Inspirational message or two?
Oh, inspirational quotes like the cats that's hang in there.
That's an interesting moral quandary. Are you allowed to openly solicit nudes? Are you allowed to go on a platform like this and just say, "Hey, I want nudes. Send them to me, please"?
I don't know. Yeah, just in case that was a joke. I mean,
yeah.
If you send them, that's all right. But it was a joke. I wonder because. Remember,
that's what Chris D'Elia got in trouble for, right?
Yeah, but he did it with 15-year-olds.
Yeah, he was quite literally hold on, are you under 16? And they're like, yeah, and he's like, cool.
No, there's also, not to get into the whole Chris D'Elia
known paedophile Chris D'Elia.
Jesus, but he's also one of those ones where it's this weird where in the leaks there were also messages where he was doing the opposite, finding out how young someone was and then being like, whoa, no, I'm not talking to you. So it's
yeah,
I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
I don't know enough about it.
But nothing shocks me anymore after the whole cannibal realization of Armie Hammer.
I love that. Honestly, that is that's peak. We're living in a simulation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was trying to give that the best reading I could possibly give it. Like, is there any situation where that stuff is not as bad as it sounds? And the only thing I can come up with is even if some insanely hot woman was trying to get you to join in her crazy fantasies and you were just trying to make stuff up, it's still mental.
But
like,
yeah, it just seems so fucking left field that it just doesn't seem true. And yet the dude's been cancelled. He's been cancelled left, right, and centre. He's like, I want to snap off your ribs and nibble on them or some shit. Like, oh, okay, dude.
Yeah, I think
maybe just go and play some COD. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe go to Bodine's and get yourself some burnt ends. Like,
Bodine's is a barbecue joint for those who don't know.
Check out some decent barbecue, mate. You haven't got to be nibbling on raw woman ribs.
I love that idea, the implication that every single barbecue that happens around the world is really just cannibals trying to suppress their urges from eating human flesh.
Man.
No, I'm saying it's a better alternative.
I agree with that, yeah.
It was like
one thing.
Yeah.
So one thing I didn't include in the catch-up that I should have put in there is that we had a barbecue.
Yeah.
We did.
I mean, kind of haven't got to the catch-up yet, but yeah.
No, but you just reminded me. I'm going to make a note of it so that I remember to mention it. Because
Jonesy, it wouldn't be the first time he blew it too early, but...
definitely not.
We'll get there.
Talking about premature ejaculation for anyone that can't read undertones.
I've got 2 kids.
On the whole cannibal barbecue thing, do you remember that scene in Michael Bay's seminal film, Pain and Gain, where The Rock was trying to dispose of a body, so he chopped him up and started barbecuing them? Or braai, if you're from South Africa.
Oh, jeez.
I don't remember that scene.
It was mental. That movie is so good, dude. I don't know why, like... It's schlocky and cheesy.
On a true story,
it's based on a true story, but it's just so fucking mental with Michael Bay's mental fucking style. It just works. And of course you got known racist Mark Wahlberg in it. So
yep, true. And I feel like Michael Bay is a known something or other. Let's call him a known pest for now. Like some people
that fits. Yeah, that fits. I mean, there's all that Megan Fox stuff, right?
And Scarlett Johansson stuff. Oh, the Scarlett Johansson was the reverse, wasn't it? She wanted to get her baps out in the island, and Michael Bay said no.
What?
I'm pretty sure that's the story. All the more reason.
Who would say no to that? That's insane.
I don't know.
I would have done what the 90s action directors did, and I would have included a really random scene that was completely uncalled for. Just gone, there you go. Pop them out.
Yeah.
Pop them up. So speaking of popping them out, let's talk about this solicitation that I've alleged to have done. But it's almost like, because you asked the question, Jamie, like, is that a legal thing? It might not be legal, or it might be legal, but it's certainly a grey area. But
why would it be a grey area? if you record something where you go, if you're an adult of age, pop some pics in the thing, how would that be not legal?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess maybe the grey area is like, what if someone underage did respond?
Then that would be, because then you'd be, I guess, soliciting pics from a minor, so that's different.
Yeah.
How about no one sends pictures?
Yeah, no one sends any nudes of any kind.
Anything.
So you're saying I'm not going to get age-appropriate pictures?
Don't worry. Later in the news that we talk about, there are some avenues for you to sort that area of your life out.
Oh, yeah. I'm in.
Yeah. But... before we get on to the news and start talking about video games, I will give a quick mention to Paisley Radio. For anyone that doesn't know, this show is played live on digital radio at paisleyradio.com every Thursday at 10 p.m. And then it's repeated, in case you miss it, on Mondays, same time. So if ever you feel like you want to experience the Super Show podcast in a slightly different way, maybe a live way, maybe get the adrenaline rush of, what if I'm not there in time for the start and I miss the first 30 seconds? Then paisleyradio.com is the place to be.
Although, after the conversation we just had, it also might be the last place, the last time we're on there. So,
I mean, who knows? We can't be too surprised if ever we get the message being like, hey, it's been a good run, but you've been arrested and the deal's off.
I actually learnt this week quite randomly of one of Paisley's famous sons, which apparently is Gerard Butler. He's from Paisley.
There you go. Maybe we should
King Leonidas himself.
Speak to the people at Paisley Radio and see if there's an opportunity to get him on the Super Show. Can you imagine?
Bit of a crossover.
Yeah, the guest lineup. It's been like Steph, Martin, Sam, and then Gerard Butler.
Can you? That would be so sick, dude.
That's the glow.
Should we just try and get him on like social media and just randomly message him and be like, "Hey Gerard, do you want to come on our podcast?"
We could do one of those videos that were like really popular on YouTube. What was it, like 2 years ago? Like, I DM'd 100 celebrities. This is how many replied.
It'll be
0.
like, you know, when an actress like randomly agrees to go to prom with some, or like when Mila Kunis goes to like the dance with the soldier guy. If one of us just pretends to be a veteran, no one can see our legs. We can pretend we've lost one in Vietnam or what have you. I reckon he'd get right involved. You say, look, I'm a huge fan of the major motion picture Gamer.
Here's a question about the whole prom thing, right? What I've never understood. So American movies will have me believe that the whole point of prom is that afterwards you get some, right?
Okay. You bang. Big time bang.
You bang. If you're going to take a celeb like Mila Kunis or whoever, you're not going to get any. So surely you're then just signing yourself up to not get any after prom. So maybe all the, the people who message celebs and then go, isn't it amazing she came into prom? It's like, actually, you've probably done yourself.
Yeah, but you know what? I wonder with today's incels if the clout is better than the bang,
Yeah. Oh, so it's all about clout.
I reckon for the younger generation, clout's pretty up there.
To be
honest,
honest,
banging off the prom anyway,
that's why they've got that meme where it's like, yeah, sex is good, but have you ever tried X? It's like, oh, fuck off, just sex is good. That's it.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried eggs?
No.
Is that what it was?
X, like whatever, like
as
a.
I thought you said, have you ever tried eggs?
What is it? Like a fucking placeholder. Have you ever tried eggs? I mean, to be honest, there probably is someone who's tweeting that, like, yeah, sex is good and everything, but have you ever tried scrambled eggs?
So, someone taking a selfie, they're in a full tuxedo, but instead of having a girl on their arm, they're just holding a plate with an omelette on it.
To be fair, I bet Gordon Ramsay makes some kick-ass scrambled eggs.
Yeah. He probably does. Do you know what? Yeah. It's going to be... You mentioned clout, it's like... I'm sure it's the same for you guys. I did have something akin to a prom, like whatever the UK version of it was. Yeah. And between the age I am and my school stance on phones, like I don't remember people there taking pictures for Instagram. Like we didn't have Instagram pages. Yeah. We weren't making TikToks.
The pictures I was taking was fucking analog. There's no digital. It's just like, yeah, well, here's my roll. Here's my one roll of film that I'm going to use for this fucking dance. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Done.
I want to say, I can't remember if they did have them, but that would have been around the time when I was still, if I went to like a wedding or something, and they still did the thing where they would leave disposable cameras on each table.
Oh,
so
yeah,
could, snap pics.
Yeah.
And I think they used to do that sort of prom stuff as well. But I don't
there's something fun about that, though. There's something fun about not knowing what kind of a picture you took. And then, and like having a fucking wild night, and then the next day getting those pictures developed, and they're going to pick them up and see that they're all like, half of them are of your testicles, and then you feel like really like, oh shit, this dude is giving me these pictures to see my balls. Okay, well, there you go.
And speaking of Chris's balls, how about we give some shout-outs to some patrons, given that they are forever emblazoned on your testicles.
On my
He's going to have to prove it one day.
Yeah.
I'll prove it right now, buddy.
We'll have to take the full frontal name to the next level.
We'll get deplatformed, but you know.
There you go.
That's the price you pay sometimes.
Hey, it's worked out well for some people in the past. We could just go hard alt-right and, we'll be on Parler or wherever you have to go. Pornhub. We'll make it work. Anyway, before we get to Parler and Pornhub, we are still on YouTube, and the whole thing is made possible by your support on Patreon. The link to go to if you want to check out what we've got to offer and how you can help us is patreon.com/SuperShow. But for now, we've got some shout-outs to give to the folks that are already helping us along on this ridiculous 70-episode-long journey. So shout-outs to Anthony Muncie, Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Hacksaw Bookread, Jesper Camdell Nielsen, Jovella Cujo, Leo Merger, Lonnie Thompson, Magic Grits, Mindful Pig, Nathan Pearce, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kid, Zach Cream, and their head honchos, the big dogs, Shell Shock, Manuel Guerrero, Peaswad, and The Dude Abides. Thank you all so much for your patronage and for, as I said, helping us along on this ridiculous journey that somehow we're all still on. Right, lads?
Honestly, I fucking love our patrons. And not just that, I love our community, because obviously, patrons come and go, but you still get access to the Discord server. And yeah, it's just nice to know that that's always there. So on my phone, it's a community I could chat to, dip in and out. It's cool. I like it. I really might sound like I'm talking shit, but I do. I think it's really cool. Like getting to know these people.
Yes.
It's cool.
Yeah. And you know what? Another nice reminder of the little community we got built up was actually the comment section of last week's video, because we did put out a couple of feelers as we were recording. Obviously, last week, episode 69, was a slightly shorter, slightly different, a twist on the meta of the podcasting game.
Which we're trying to, like some of the feedback we're trying to incorporate in this one, as I'm sure you can tell.
Ever evolving, ever improving.
Improvement is a big word, dude.
We've got to sell the lie, Chris. Like we got to. If they don't believe it, then how are we meant to? But yeah, I was actually, I don't know about you two, but I was like genuinely surprised by just how many people gave us some feedback last week on how they felt about sort of length and flow and all the other variables that affect podcasting. We do have one comment of the week though.
Yeah.
And this one comes in from Dynasty's Edge, who says, I enjoy both styles of podcast. Oh, can I start again?
Yeah, I think you should maybe just.
Do you know what? I did all the Patreon names without my tongue giving up on me, and then I get to Dynasty Edge's comment, and
Well, it's because you said Dynasty's Edge, and that's almost like a mental reset, because Dynasty's Edge is quite a funny 2 words, right?
That is quite a tricky thing to say, I'd say.
Dynasty's
Edge.
Can you both say it really quickly 10 times, please, just to make me feel better about myself?
Jesus Christ, okay.
Dynasty's Edge, I can't.
Dynasty's Edge.
Actually can't.
Dinosaur eggs.
That's tough.
Dinosaur eggs, yes.
Dinosaur eggs.
This comment comes in from Dinosaur Eggs.
Okay, go on. Nail it.
I enjoy both styles of podcast, though you kind of already blend structure and freestyle in your weekly podcast anyway. You have it down to a fine art, my guys. Very complimentary. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Although he does follow up, or she does follow up, who knows? Or they, anywhere, you can be whatever you want to. Live your life, be your true self. Where everyone's welcome. They follow it up with a question.
Is that all in the comment?
No. That's Jamie panicking now because he's not covering enough representation there.
I just know what, when you have 99% male viewers, you often go he when you're talking about a commenter, but the reality is could be anyone.
We do have a few that aren't blokes, to be fair. I often say like men, and we do have some not men who watch our stuff, which is surprising, but
it's a habit I need to get out. I do it in Warzone, and sometimes there's 3 of us and it's like 2 guys and 1 girl, and I'd be like, nice one, guys.
I've seen that video.
Oh, but this is different.
Oh, right. Okay.
This is the one where the rose skin sneaks out of the shadows and fucks you from behind. There's a bit of a Warzone joke there for anyone. Anyway, Dynasty's Edge did ask a question. Probably a simple question, they say. Their words, not mine. But are you guys into RPGs or JRPGs at all? And if so, what series? Ooh. I only ask because I find myself enjoying Dragon Age Origins again after many months while I slowly bought the relevant story DLC. This is also straight after discovering and finishing Tales of Vesperia on Game Pass, which is now a favourite game of mine for its interesting story, beautiful world, and amusing characters. I was lucky with my first entries and loved them, brackets Fallout 4 and Persona 5 Royale, both on release date. Were you guys as lucky with getting into the genre?
Ooh.
It's a good question. Probably goes back a few years for you boys, given how old you are.
Wow, thanks. Go fuck yourself.
Tee-hee.
Trying to think like the first. Do you know what? For me, I was quite lucky. I think my first proper RPG experience, which actually, to be fair, was a bit of a crossover, was probably Fallout 3, which was much more of because it's like first person sort of, and then it's got the shooting elements tied into it, which it made me feel quite at home in the RPG genre. I've then dabbled with like, it's always sort of sci-fi or futuristic RPGs like Mass Effect. And then a few of like obviously Skyrim and stuff like that. I'm not an out-and-out RPG player though, I must admit.
Yeah.
So, wow, decent.
Definitely JRPG. I tried to play Persona 5. It was like in almost. I don't know how. I'm going to be nice because I didn't play enough of it, but I just stopped. Let's put it that way.
But just
yikes.
Wow. I'll jump in there and say I fucking love RPGs. If it was up to me, you would fucking have RPG elements of some kind. RPG elements and roguelike elements in every single fucking game that ever came out, ever. Probably get boring after a while, but I'd fucking love it. It's just something
I agree
about...
on the RPG elements, I totally agree.
Yeah, dude, something about like, here is your skill and you can gain experience to make it better. Just really fucking tickles my balls in such a nice and enticing way. In terms of RPGs, for me, I mean... Yeah, dude, I'll fucking take anything that comes. You know, you mentioned Skyrim, going back to Oblivion, going back to Morrowind, which was my first Elder Scrolls experience, which I absolutely fucking loved. Morrowind is one of my top games, and I'm glad to see it's on Games Pass. JRPGs, you know, you're talking about... Final Fantasy VII was probably my first foray into JRPGs, and that kind of got me stuck into a lot of Final Fantasy. So I went to Final Fantasy 5, then went to Final Fantasy 8, skipped 9 for whatever reason, 10, 12, blah, 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 the rest is history. Yeah, I just fucking... some Fallout 4 was mentioned. Something about RPGs I just fucking love. I just like seeing numbers go up.
Totally. I think there's got to be a reason, right, why so many of the elements of game design that were once solely attributed to RPGs have now made their way into basically every other genre of games in the world, and we don't even consider them RPGs anymore in the same sense.
Dude, do you know what? Actually, thinking on it, I was really, really surprised in the ATG days when I think we did a Let's Play of Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yes, that's right.
Now, I'd never played at that point, I hadn't played the Tomb Raider reboot, so I didn't know what that was all about. But then we were playing that for a video, and I was so surprised by like, oh wow, there's like crafting in this game, and oh wow, there's skill points, and like, you can attributes for your bow and shit, like, RPG light elements. But I was like, this is Tomb Raider, dude. Like, this was about getting dual guns, getting your tits out, and shooting wolves in the face. Like, oh my god, now you're upgrading your bow strap. I'm like, fucking, let's go.
Yeah.
I love it, honestly. And I think as we keep on going, we notice that not just in gaming, but in just general life, gamification is a very big thing that's kind of happening. Like, if you go shopping and you get points on your card, guess what? That's an RPG system that's gone into the real world. It just doesn't.
They should take that to the next level. How have they not gone further with that? I find it
the
baffling.
boys. The amount of times I've tried to look at weight loss as like one big RPG, I've lost count. Because that's kind of what it is, right?
Yeah,
it is. But if they had an app where it could actually, like, you could get clothing, items, rewards, and stuff based on that, I think it would work better. Like, but weight loss is the opposite to an RPG, right? It's numbers going down. As Chris said, we want numbers going up.
Yeah, but then it's like golf, where the numbers going down is the good thing.
Yeah,
but
it's like numbers go down, but numbers go up because like your body fat goes down, but your muscle mass goes up, right? Like,
or look at it in like, let's say you're playing an RPG and you walk past a poisonous plant and it spites you, and you've got a toxicity level. You want that to go down.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You want to go down.
That's true. Or the amount of time it's going to affect you. You want to see.
Speaking of increasing my toxicity level, just going to more sugar and caffeine.
From what Chris said, now I want a T-shirt that says numbers going up and not coming out of my head, because there's one thing I like and one thing I don't like. So there you go.
Yeah, it's weird though. It's gotten to the point though that like young kids, like I can imagine my brothers growing up one day and asking me what RPG stands for, and you tell them, and they're gonna look confused because they're like, I don't understand what reference, like the idea
a rocket
of a role-playing
grenade. So like,
no, but even like role-playing game, like what does having a role to play within a game have to do with the concepts and the mechanics that make up what we see as RPGs?
Dude,
it's a strange one.
Shits have become shit has become so kind of like interspersed with each other in terms of genres and etc. Like when RPGs first came out, it was like, that's an RPG. And that's where you get that RPG experience. But now you can get an RPG experience like fucking anywhere. So it's almost like...
Okay. Because that's the thing, right? If you wanted to explain RPGs properly, you'd start off by going, have you heard of Dungeons and Dragons? The card game. And they'll go, and they'll be like, what the hell is that? And
I just love that you refer to Dungeons and Dragons as a card game. But there we go. This is the reality we're living in at the moment. So.
Then you'll find it's tabletop.
What tabletop, whatever, same thing.
I don't even know if I'm right. I just wanted to
the
do
origins,
the voice.
haven't you? Well, no, it is. It's tabletop. But you'd have to go back to that and then be like, and you've got skill points and you've got stats and you want to increase them and you want to and then you've got to get into all of that sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of mad, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what game kind of counts as an RPG, even if it implements its RPG mechanics in possibly the most brutal fashion known to man?
Yeah,
go on.
The Souls series.
Oh yes, baby.
And, Chris, I hear you might have a little update to give us on your adventures within them.
That is correct, because I have been streaming Dark Souls on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Hot Panic. You gotta say it like that, otherwise it doesn't count. Hot. You got to drag that H through the mud. Hot.
Is that like a Greek thing or?
Not really. I guess
what would a Greek person sound like saying hot panic?
Hot panic.
Hot panic.
Yeah, maybe they probably would drag it. To be fair, there's
And then you
some
have to-
dragging. There's
you
some
have to
dragging in
smash-
Greek,
smash
and there's
a
some
plate
dragging in
after you say it.
Afrikaans as well. Wow, okay, that's just racist now. But yeah, I've
You're
been
white.
playing some Dark Souls. Only my second playthrough of Dark Souls. Jump back in, beat the first boss. I'm still kind of getting used to how to play that game. But yeah, like you said, it's an RPG. It's like put up your vitality to give you more stamina and shit like that. Like, cool. I love shit like that. I'm really enjoying my time with Dark Souls. The thing that I don't like about it is I'm only playing it on stream. So
Right.
in the middle of the night, if I've got an impulse and I'm like, oh, I just want to play like an hour of Dark Souls, I can't. Because I've got to, if I wanted to, I have to set up my stream and blah, blah, blah. It's just a little bit too complicated. So I'm kind of keeping it to Wednesdays at the moment. I might kind of expand it a bit because otherwise it's going to take me forever. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Beat that first boss, which was the Taurus demon. And then made my way to the second boss on the path that I was going, because it's a bit open form. And it is the Bell Gargoyle, I think. I think somewhere along the line it becomes two gargoyles.
That was my nickname in high school.
The Bell Gargoyle.
Yeah. Don't ask me what the bell referred to.
You bell end.
Well, yes.
Does your dick look like a gargoyle?
Looks like a gargoyle.
Yeah.
It's fucking
It's
hunched over
just
like
hanging off there.
Yes. The tip of
Yes.
my penis does have wings.
that. Wow. But yeah, Dark Souls. I mean, Jamie, you watched some of it. Did it look as pathetic as it fucking felt?
You know what? When it comes to Dark Souls gameplay nowadays, especially with someone who, is playing a game like that for the first time, I don't think the word pathetic really enters the conversation. And that's just not... that's
I
not
wouldn't
just me
say I'm
looking out for you.
pathetic at it. I wouldn't
No.
say I'm pathetic. I mean,
No,
look,
far from it.
yes, I haven't finished Sekiro, but I got to the final boss, right? And
Yes.
I could still finish it.
That is an achievement.
Yeah,
Like,
can I tell you what it is with Dark Souls? It's a strange kind of phenomenon, right? Where, and I was explaining it on stream. Someone came into the chat and they said they'd never played these games before, and I was like, cool. What you got to understand about Dark Souls is dying is not dying, right? It's
part of the game. Yeah.
It's a mechanic in the game. It's literally a mechanic in the game.
Mm.
All right. Especially in the first Dark Souls, where it's not that punishing to die. Your resources get lost, but you can go back to your body and pick them up. The challenge is if you die before you pick them up, then those resources are gone. But other than that, there's no penalty.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas in Sekiro, for instance, the more you die, people in the world get plagued. And then if they're plagued, like merchants get plagued, they just can't give you can't buy shit from them. So it's a lot harsher. But yeah,
as a repeat game non-finisher, I must admit it would really stress me out to just have the final boss to beat. Are you not tempted to sort of go and just nail that?
I am.
Tuck it away.
You know what the problem is, okay? Because people want me to do it on stream, but it's on my PlayStation, and the external monitor I have doesn't have an audio out. So whenever I'm listening to it through my Elgato capture card, it is a delay. And a big part of, I guess, Dark Souls as well, but certainly Sekiro, is audio cues.
Yeah.
Because you'll hear an audio cue and you're like, cool, he's winding up for this attack, so I'm going to dodge. But you can't do that if you got a delay, because by the time you hear it,
Yeah.
and it's not even like you're playing the whole game like that. It's not even something that you can just switch off and like just forget about. At one point, I had to take my headphones off just to kind of stop me hearing any noise, because it's like instinct. As soon as I hear a noise, I'm like, dodge. But by then it's too late. So I can't actually stream me finishing that game until I get a new monitor. I don't have any money to get a new monitor, so fuck me. But then the thing is like, okay, we'll finish it on your own time. And I could do that, but then whenever I've got spare time, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just play some Apex or play some Dota, because
that to finish one boss in Sekiro can take a long ass time as well, can't it?
Dude, General Genichiro took me fucking 2 months. On and off.
So
Squirrel
play
gaming.
Squirrel
Yeah.
gaming every session, having another bash.
Yeah, literally. And you're going to see in this Dark Souls, probably the next time I play it with these Bell Gargoyles. So I usually stream like for about 2 hours, sometimes 3. I can imagine that a good chunk of that 2 hours, if not the entire time, is going to be me trying to beat those gargoyles. Unless I find cheesy strat. Well, I remember in Sekiro, I was going up against the True Corrupted Monk, which is like towards the latter end of the game. And that took me, I think, an hour and 20 minutes to beat. And I'm a lot more adept at playing with Sekiro's kind of quirks than I am with Dark Souls. The thing that gets me with Dark Souls is the animation lock. So you go to hit, and you can't cancel that animation. You got to follow it through. And sometimes if you do it at the wrong time and then the other dude has got a faster attack, guess what? You just fucked.
Yeah.
So it's really about tempo with that game. But yeah, I've been playing that. The other thing I've been playing, which is a bit of a sad story, but also a bit of a cool story, is the Chivalry 2 beta.
Okay, yes. Nice.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember, again, on ATG, I did a live stream of me playing Mordhau. So Chivalry 2 is like Mordhau. Like, imagine Warzone, except it's medieval knights and swords, and you can, you got your sword, and your sword can block other people. It's fucking cool.
I remember that when the first Chivalry came out, I watched some Let's Plays of it, but I never picked it up.
Yeah. So I got into this Chivalry 2 beta, which is really cool. I was meant to stream it on Monday. I got a massive headache, so I didn't land up streaming on Monday. Then I thought, well, maybe I'll find the time to do it on Tuesday. But because I had a headache the whole day of Monday, all my stuff I was planning to do on Monday had to happen on Tuesday, so it didn't happen on Tuesday. Then Wednesday was the Dark Souls stream, so I was like, okay, fine. Well, let me just play some of it so that I can talk about it in the pod. So I booted it up last night, went through the tutorial, and then after the tutorial, it kicks you into a match. And it's so fucking cool, dude. It's so fun. Like, it's got this system.
Is it as manic as Mordhau? Or is it a little bit more?
I think it's a bit more accessible, to be honest. Like, I think they've done a good job in kind of simplifying. I think Mordhau was like, how do we take that Chivalry thing and kind of expand on it? Whereas Chivalry maybe looked at Mordhau and says, you know what, there's maybe some frivolous stuff there that we don't necessarily need.
Right.
There's still a lot to kind of like keep in mind, like parrying and riposting and all of that shit, right? But it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's very visceral. They've got this cool thing where you can emote, which is just like shouting out whatever, like follow me or whatever. But you've also got this war cry thing, which you kind of really like, let's go fuck him up. And then you get like a little speed boost or whatever it is, and you just go into the battle. And everyone's just kind of hacking at each other. It's kind of mental. But the thing that I kind of fucked up is I did that, and that was obviously still running the tutorial in that first match. But then it kicked me out and it said, yeah, the beta's over. It ended on the Tuesday, which was the last day that I was like planning to stream it. So I messed up a bit, and I'm really disappointed because let me tell you, that match that I played just made me want to play more. But the game is coming out on June 8th, and I'm definitely going to pick it up. And I hope you guys pick it up as well, because you know what? I think we can have a lot of fun with that game.
I'm tempted. My issue with games like that, like, and Mordhau was a bit like this, and For Honor for sure was.
Yeah.
In that I couldn't be bothered to commit enough to stick it out, to get good enough to have a good time. Like, I could jump into a match and go, like in Mordhau, I think I played like 2 games where it was like, oh, I've slung a few arrows, I've chopped at a few people, and then I've got bludgeoned by people who are a lot better than I am. And I was like, well, that was all right. And then I've stopped playing. And like For Honor was probably slightly worse because it was obviously boils down to like one-on-one at some point.
Yeah.
I've got to know the stances. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of out, but I mean, I'd like to play a free demo, but I don't know if I'll actually pick up the full game.
That's the annoying thing, right? Like, demos of the past were, hey, here's this demo so you can make up your mind about the game. And that's kind of disappeared largely. I mean, unless you're on Switch or whatever, or Resident Evil where they give you half an hour. But, like, really in a game like Chivalry 2, you want there to be a demo, but they've got this beta, which is tied to pre-orders. I didn't pre-order it, I just got sent the beta. And like nothing in between. Which is kind of like, it's a bit sad. I think they should have open betas as demos, because so people can try to make up your mind, like people like yourself. But it's very cool. Like, if you just look up some gameplay on, like, even like not knowing what you're fucking doing, dude, like, it's cool, it's fun.
Okay, I'll check out some gameplay. Maybe I'll watch you stream some, and then I'll be inspired.
There you go.
And then I guess the last thing that I was streaming was Apex, and I'm not going to talk about how I was performing on Apex, blah blah blah, whatever. What I do want to talk about is some of the Apex news, because they've revealed what this new arena mode is going to be, which is a 3v3, kind of going like, almost like CSGO, right? Where at the start of a match, you've got credits, use those credits to buy your guns. But then it's also kind of like, I guess, Overwatch style, because you've got your characters that do their abilities. Maybe like Valorant? I don't know. And you go through a bunch of different matches to determine a winner after like a tally, etc. But there's still the circle that comes down, I think, to kind of corral you all and force fights. It looks pretty cool. And off the back of that announcement trailer, which I recommend everyone go watch because it's just fucking cool, Titanfall 2 player count has jumped up 750% on Steam.
Why do you think that is specifically?
So the arena is kind of tied to the new season. So it might not just be from the arena, but from the new season trailer as well. The new season trailer was saying that the new character, the new legend that you get to play as, Valkyrie, is the daughter of Viper, who is in Titanfall 2 as a boss. And in the trailer, it kind of like says like, oh, all of that, and it introduces Blisk, and you actually get to see some Titans. And I think people are like, yeah, fuck it, man, because it's cheap on Steam. It's not expensive. If you got Game Pass, I think you get it for free on the EA deal that they've got. So. Why not, right?
I guess with a number like 750%, you don't necessarily know what it's going from and to.
Yeah, dude. You have to do is have 10 players, and
right? Exactly.
Up that by 700.
I was just a little bit surprised because I assumed the Titanfall 2 player count was still healthy, so I was just a little bit surprised that a jump that big could be attributed to the announcement of an arena mode, unless people felt like it would be good practice. I wonder,
maybe. But I also wonder if it's people saying, like, looking at Apex Legends as a battle royale. And then all of a sudden, this Battle Royale says, oh, by the way, there's going to be a new permanent mode. By the way, it's permanent. An Arena 3v3. And people are like, imagine the gameplay of Apex, but in a multiplayer game. And they're like, hold on a second, that's fucking Titanfall 2. So let's go to Titanfall 2 and just play.
I want to have a bit of it.
Yeah, I get it. That's what we should say with Warzone players who like plunder. And they're like, yeah, but I get to respawn with my guns. Like, what?
Yeah, that's just
COD multiplayer. You said that to me like 2 weeks ago.
There you go.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to see the little mini Twitter spat that happened around Titanfall? Respawn and Polygon. Did you see this?
Oh, it's the most ridiculous fucking thing. Go on, Jonesy.
It was quite
because I know you love it.
Wait, I'm curious to know in which way Chris thinks it's ridiculous because there's a number of ways of interpreting this.
That's true.
Go for it, Jonesy. Let's
okay. Just
cue it up.
In case people didn't hear, so it was basically Polygon put out a story about Titanfall 2, and in it, the writer had included some information about lore around Titanfall, and had actually said that Valkyrie's dad died, but they didn't know how, or that you don't know how. And I think it was Respawn basically came back at them and said, if you that's not true, maybe you should check your sources. And a great place to start is by playing Titanfall 2, because in Titanfall 2, I'm pretty sure her dad gets killed as part of the story in the mech, right? So it's you can see
you as the player just fucking destroy Viper, yeah.
So you can see how he dies in Titanfall 2. So there was a little bit of a sassy sort of retort to Polygon, but there was sort of a bit of a weird reaction where people were they were quote tweeting Respawn and just calling them out and saying about how out of order and what bad journalism, or I suppose what bad feels it was for them to say to call out Polygon in that way, and the writer, and it got really weird. Like some of the replies were just like, you're pathetic to reach out to Polygon like this, rather than going to them privately and saying, sorry, could you please make a correction? And I must admit, I read a few of the replies, and I was like, I think they were just trying to be a bit sassy about like, how about you just play the game, because that's how you can find out.
Do you want to know the exact response from Respawn?
Yeah,
it was quote, we suggest you check your sources. Here's a great place to start. And then a link to the Steam store page.
And didn't they do like a winky face as well?
No emojis.
Oh, no emojis.
But Titanfall 2 had 75% off on Steam. So it's obviously it was a social media, like, here's Titanfall 2, 75% off.
Oh, dude, if you're a social media manager and that comes up, you take that fucking opportunity.
Yeah. Right? Oh, of course you do. I read it and I was like, they're not trying to call you out. They're just being a little bit sassy.
Yeah. I'm not going to suggest you misrepresented this whole situation, Jonesy, but it is worth noting that if you look at the two original tweets, the Polygon tweet has 1,000 likes. The Respawn tweet has over 10,000 likes. And if you look at the replies to Polygon's tweet, the author is the one being absolutely torn to shreds for not doing his research. So there's...
I think
that's what I'm pretty sure that's what I said.
You implied that the audience reaction was getting angry at Respawn for a petty reply. I would suggest that the broader audience reaction was getting angry at Polygon.
Hold on. Let me step in here, because I think because this happened like almost a week ago, right? I think what's happened is the discourse
pendulum swung.
Exactly, that's exactly right. They were going after Respawn initially. Even people coming out.
I should say that the timeline, let me outline the timeline.
Yeah.
So the timeline was, right, Polygon put out the article. They get some sort of like snotty people to their article saying, you don't know your sort, you don't know da-da-da, like this. Respawn then tweet out their thing being sassy. You then get a whole bunch, or not a whole bunch, but you get a decent number of what people love to call blue check marks on Twitter who are on the side of Polygon saying, this isn't a very good way to reply to this. On Twitter, but that's obviously not that many people. They're just more well-known people.
Yeah, more vocal,
and they're part of the gaming community, and they're other journalists and stuff like that. You then get a reaction to those people, so that's where you get the swing.
So this is why I'm saying that the whole situation is ridiculous. One of the replies was from another games journalist who says, we cover this was ridiculous. We cover so many things that if you think that we got time to check, don't write the article then. If you can't fucking fact check a simple thing like that.
You're
like,
writing
it was really
that
bizarre.
article.
So Jamie, you were wondering where I came out
strange.
on this. I think people need to chill the fuck out. They need to have a little bit of a sense of humor. I'm on Respawn side on this. I would have, if I was responsible for that social media manager, I would have fucking given him a pat on the back. Would have shook his hand and said, "Good job, son. Go home and take the rest of the day off." They might have added
to the 750% increase in people playing Titanfall 2.
Exactly, probably,
75% off Titanfall 2
on Steam. And I think people just are on their fucking high horse all the time. They can't take a fucking joke. They can't take a little bit of cheekiness. Like, fuck off.
Can I add? I will say, I think Polygon's journalist getting the fact wrong. I don't like. It's fine. We used to get little facts wrong all the time on ATG where we'd research stuff. Like I don't think anyone should hold any animosity to the journo. Like people going, this is bad journalism. It's like, come on, man, get over yourself.
I think what you have to do is you have to own it, right? You have to own it. If you make you make a mistake, you can't go be like, oh well, if you think I can't. If you think I got time to research every little article that I write, it's like, hold on, that is your job. But if you make a mistake, just say, fuck, guys, you know what? I was wrong on this one. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Like,
I feel like I change allegiance on this argument like every 30 seconds because you're totally right. Like mistakes can be made, but at the same time, own up to your mistakes, put your hands up, change them. But then on the flip side, like when I see a bunch of people underneath it being like, how could you not know that is like, dude, I played Titanfall 2. I've forgotten all of that shit. Like, get over yourself. Just because you're some fucking nerd that remembers every single element of the Titanfall 2 lore and canon doesn't mean that everyone else needs to.
I think in this particular case, it probably wasn't difficult to do the research for that. It's literally, there's probably a fight with Viper in Titanfall 2. Let me watch the video on YouTube.
Yeah,
and that's going to take like 10 minutes of my life.
Can I say one thing though to your point about Respawn? Generally speaking, I agree that I think there's a fine line, right, when community managers and social media managers and so on and so forth start to let their own personality or what they present as their personality sort of take a hold of a certain handle or a brand's image. And sometimes it's very funny. Sometimes it's people trying too hard to be funny. And sometimes it's like a perfect balance. All I worry about, and maybe you guys can shout me down for this, I don't know, I might be in the wrong. I just think that the video game scene on a platform like Twitter is extremely incendiary. And I think if you're the social media manager for a big brand in the video game scene, you have to know that, like, in leaving a reply like that to a Polygon article, and the same would go for Kotaku, and we can all guess why, you kind of know what you're bringing to that article and that writer inherent, like, with your tweet, with the attention you're giving it. That's the only thing I'd say. Not that the tweet was wrong. That's the only thing I would say. If I was that person's manager or boss, I'd probably tell them to be careful with, of like, hey, we don't want to be seen as even being partly responsible for sending we don't want to be reading a news story this week's Time where this guy goes, Polygon headline, same author, I wrote an article about Apex Legends and then I got death threats. And we don't want our tweet quoted in that story as the thing that kind of was the fire starter, you know?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I don't agree. Like I don't think that how insane people on Twitter, because people on Twitter are insane in both directions. You could have someone from like I don't think you can kind of guess whether or not it's going to be the crazy sort of overly protective people on one side versus the sort of insane people on the other side. Like the reaction to it from the people saying this is unprofessional and you shouldn't have done this, like from like what do they call it, like verified people on Twitter. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like they've done a sassy reply, but at the same time the people from the people who are replying to Polygon going like, how can you not know this? It's like, get over yourself. It's a little puff piece that they've done talking about a new character that's in Respawn's game. Like they're not, it's not like they're calling out your favorite game. Like you need to just chill. Like Chris said,
probably got written in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
it probably did. You need to chill. You need to calm down. Come on now.
Can I just say that I get Jamie's point, and it is something to consider for sure. And like, it is a good point, and it is something that you should consider. But I don't think that Respawn's tweet merited any of this. So no. If I was the social manager and I'd drafted this tweet up, I think this is fine. The other thing that
you're going to a professional journalist and saying, think you need to do your research, and then linking to the product that you're trying to sell. Like how are you? You know what you're doing when you're doing that.
I'm not suggesting.
I think what you're doing is you're trying to get people to buy your game.
Are you hold on? So are you saying you think they did it knowing there would be a backlash of like visceral hate?
No, I'm not suggesting they did that on purpose, but I'm suggesting that if you're the social media manager of a brand and a Twitter handle that big, and you're not aware that that's the impact that you can have, then you're not thinking in broad enough terms. You have to be aware of what comes with the territory when you operate in that field and with that degree of exposure, in my opinion.
I kind of disagree with that. You can't let the trolls dictate what you do.
This is reminding me of like a few weeks ago when there was all this stuff going on. You know how you get the Minecraft stand scene, Chris.
Like Dream and all that shit.
Exactly. There was this thing where some woman, she was a streamer. I think her name was Casey, something like that, Casey Tron. And she made some kind of comment. I can't remember what it was, but she made some anti-Minecraft, like anti-Minecraft YouTuber, anti-Minecraft stan kind of comment. And all of a sudden, like they were fucking tearing her down, doing the thing that they do very well, digging up everything they could ever find about her. Past tweets, spam messaging every single social media platform, trying to get all her accounts.
Hold on, guys. My headphones are freaking out. I'm going to have to swap.
Oh,
that's all right.
Jonesy.
Do your thing,
all
bro.
Right.
You're just going to miss this great story. But Chris, this one's for you, baby.
I've got 2 ears. One for me, one for Jonesy. It's all right.
Okay. They were spam messaging every single social media platform, trying to get her banned on everything they could possibly get her banned on. They were sending, like, some of them were also sending some pretty horrendous, like, personal stuff. Whatever it was.
The ugly side of it, yeah.
Yeah, and long story short, there was immense pressure on Dream at the time, and there's been pressure on other Minecraft YouTubers since to distance themselves from their stands, and basically be willing to say that actually some stand behavior is unacceptable and some people take the degree of fandom too far and use it as a means to attack other people. Yeah. And Dream in this specific scenario was seemingly unwilling to make a comment that, like, I think he made some loose comment being like, oh, in every community there are bad eggs. But like he also put out another tweet that being like, stands aren't bad. And I'm not suggesting this has anything to do with the Titanfall story. I don't think Titanfall 2 has stands. I don't think they're a Respawn.
It should have stands.
Do you know what? I'm pretty close to being a Respawn stand myself.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing that, like, you guys disagree clearly, and that's fine. But I think when it comes to social media, when it comes to the spaces or the territory you operate within, when it comes to your reach, when it comes to the kind of stuff you're engaging with, I think there should be an increasing or growing responsibility on the side of these social media managers to be aware of what the side effects or the unwanted extra baggage of the things they say and the things they make public could be.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say now.
Yeah.
Would I be okay with a few less funny, ironic tweets from brand accounts if it results in less death threats for journalists? Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. But then at the same time, there's a weird thing that I wouldn't want there to be sort of like an unwritten, unspoken agreement whereby brands, journos don't say things that are true because they're they're worried about what idiots on Twitter are going to say. So because it's all we can say, like in this instance, it was something really sort of silly and pointless, right? Like, they said, I don't think the person for Respawn meant like for their sassy tweet to make anyone send any horrible threats to the journo.
No,
because I don't think the journo did.
But again, if you don't know that that's a possibility, I don't think you're doing your job well.
Sure, but then if you take that and you say, okay, that is a possibility, so next time we won't do it. Right. So then you're like, so I'm like, fine, okay, you've said next time you won't do it. But then what happens then when they contact the Polygon directly and say, we noticed that you actually made a mistake in this article and blah, 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 which is fine. Like they could have gone that way around it. But we don't feel comfortable doing like a sassy reply to your thing because of what might happen. But you then surely are going to have a situation whereby next time Polygon notice something in a video game, they might think, well, rather than write about it or put something in an article, we'll just message Respawn and we'll say we're thinking of doing this article but we're not really sure because it might make you look bad and come off. There might be some weird backroom chat.
I think that happens all the time already. How many
but I don't want more.
How many times do you read articles saying we reached out to CD Projekt Red for comment on the story?
That's not the same. That's not the same. That's when they call them up and go, "We're running a story about what piece of shit you are. Would you like to make a comment?" That's not the same as going, "Hey guys, thank you so much."
Sometimes people do respond to those, and you get great stories out of them. There was one about the CEO. Did you see the one about the CEO of Techland, where the guy was basically writing a Techland hit piece with all these employers that had come out and said horrible things, reached out for comment, and the CEO was like, yeah, I'll talk. So the article was basically like employee allegation, CEO response, employee allegation. It was great.
But that's the way it should work. But what I'm saying is if they contacted Techland and said, we're thinking of talking about these allegations about your employees, but because there was a good behind-the-scenes relationship between Techland and let's say whoever it was, let's say it was Polygon, that they then don't run the story because the CEO's like, actually, that's a really damaging story and we get death threats when you run something like that because people then say that we're a piece of shit and Jason Schreier puts out an article and then people attack us for being... I think there's
but then also
people hate
there's levels
I think there's
where
a bit of a slippery slope.
One's a journalist and the other is getting paid to make funny tweets.
Yeah, but they operate hand in hand. It's all about public relations, isn't it? At the end of the day, like when is one going to be shaking the hand of the other because they don't want to put negative press out there, whether it's PR on Twitter or whether it's a story on a website. I find it. I think there could be a slippery slope of people going, we don't think that the reaction of the nutters online is going to be good to this, so we won't do it. Like, even if it's that and tame, this sassy, we suggest you check your sources. Here's a great place to start.
I don't know. I just think, you just gave me reminders of it's like people who make YouTube videos that are like 15, 20 minutes long and they spend the entire video like shitting all over and humiliating someone like really weird or out there or something. And at the last 30 seconds of the video, and they'll be like, guys, please don't go over there and send in hate to so-and-so. It's like, sorry, your watch time dropped off 3 minutes ago, bro. They're in the comment section already. Like that's
the number of No, I mean I agree with you on that sort of stuff, but I think
but don't you guys think it's almost like that self-censorship route, right? Where it's if you stop yourself from saying things, you're not going to have anything interesting to say.
Yeah.
Like you look at that. What I was going to say is, if I was authoring that tweet, there's a way you could say exactly what they said that could have been very incendiary, right? And I get your point in saying, like, regardless of what you say, it doesn't matter because of the sphere it's in. I get that. But at the same time, there is that balance that needs to be had because you can't have one and you can't necessarily have the other because then the other is like, no one says anything. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But I don't think I'm advocating for self-censorship. I'm just advocating with this specific example. This didn't require humiliating the author and implying they didn't play the video game that they're trying to write about, which is probably untrue for what it's worth because I played that video game when it came out. I've got no idea who the fuck Valkyrie is or any of these fucking
I finished it and I couldn't remember that either. No.
I don't think
you are advocating, but you literally are advocating for censorship, self-censorship, because they would have seen that. They knew that the thing with that Valkyrie was wrong, and you're saying they shouldn't.
I feel like I'm vouching for self-awareness more than self-censorship.
Oh, and what? You're just being fancy with words now. You literally wanted them to not post something because they should have read it and gone, gone, maybe the response to that will be dodgy. You literally didn't want them to post it, which is fair enough. Like, I understand why. I don't think you're necessarily wrong, but you are advocating for self-censorship.
Okay, then yeah, sure. Yeah.
So then and as Chris said, I think self-censorship can
because self-censorship is something we all exercise every single day. And it's a normal, natural part of human life. Yeah. And do you know how you gauge the degree of self-censorship we do? We look around us. We look at who's in the room, who's going to hear what we say, and how they'd be affected by it. That's very true. It's called being a human being.
But this is the tamest. If you have to self-censor yourself from saying stuff like this, I don't think you could get any.
No, Jonesy, you don't understand.
I don't.
You can never say. You don't.
How could you get tamer?
Jonesy, you don't understand. You can never say ever again. No,
I don't think that's a headline. Like, oh, shock horror, the brand manager for the Respawn Entertainment Twitter account had to quote-unquote self-censor to stop himself publicly humiliating a Polygon journalist and implying they didn't play the video game that they'd just written an article about. I don't think that's a headline, and I don't even think that's a dramatic form of self-censorship. I think that's just like...
No, but
like I said, boo-hoo, we get one less sassy brand tweet. Like, why are we all so in love with brands anyway? It's a fucking company. It's $1 billion company.
Yeah, it's less about the brand and more about it's less about the brand and more about the idea of like having to self-censor.
You're going to take it made by Wendy's Twitter account? Like,
but I think the issue with brands these days is they're more and more similar to the content creators themselves. Like, so Polygon obviously.
Yeah, because they're trying to pretend they're not multi-million-dollar organizations, and we're out here simping for them.
Of course, but at the same time, all of the online sites like Polygon, Kotaku, all of the online magazines, all of the video game stuff are also brands that are also making content, and they're trying to make content out of absolutely anything just so that they can get more eyeballs, more clicks, more ad revenue. So I think the idea that suggesting that something like Kotaku or Polygon or IGN or whatever are these proper journalists doing proper journalistic work, you're also pretending they're not brands just trying to make money. But they are. Like, they're all coming together.
Everybody's playing the game.
Everyone's playing the game. So it seems odd to me that it's fine for Polygon or whoever to write an article and no one's allowed to say anything about it because they're a brand.
It's not that no one's allowed to say anything about it.
There's no way they should have called out this journalist and said she can't, or he, I don't know who it was, he or she can't be a journalist. They're rubbish. That would have been outrageous, and I would have completely agreed with you.
They directly implied that they had not played the video game they're writing the article about.
Only in a way to include the 75% Steam sale. I don't think they did it. I don't think they did it,
and that makes it better.
For that reason.
That makes it better.
It does make it better. It does make it better.
Cool, because it's more honest.
It makes it functional.
Right,
it makes it a functional tweet. Like, if they hadn't included the sale and they'd have just said, "Did you even play the game?" I probably would have agreed with you, because that would have been
fellas.
Like a sorry, mate. Go
on. I was just going to say
we've gone off on one.
We're kind of going roundabouts here, so maybe now is a good time to say. Oh, my voice broke there. Maybe now is a good time to ask the audience what they think, and let us know in the comments down below so we can move on from this roundabout, yeah?
In case there's any confusion, you should never go to places like Polygon or whoever and have a go at them, send them death threats. Don't even be mean to them, because they're just doing their job.
We've said this multiple times.
They're creating content that we enjoy and other people enjoy.
And don't do it to developers or social media managers or anyone. Don't send death threats to anyone on planet Earth.
Do you know what you should do? You should comment underneath SuperShow's YouTube video where we talked about it, and you should say, "Haha, yeah, I saw that, guys. That was funny." That's the extent of your reaction should be.
And please don't call me a cuck or a simp, because it will probably hurt my feelings.
Yeah, whatever, turbo virgin. All right, move on.
Do you know what's funny? If we were on Twitch right now live streaming this, we'd have just been banned like 3 times in the last 30 seconds.
Can't say incel, can't say turbo virgin.
Platform?
Man,
dumb as shit. Anyway,
it is dumb. Yeah.
What have you been doing this past week?
Yes, sorry, I didn't mean to derail our conversation.
No, it's good, dude. It was a co-derailment. We're all in it together.
This is the new Super Show. From episode 70 onwards, this is it, baby.
Do you know what? I'll tell you what I've been doing. I'll tell you what I've been doing for the last week. My week started off fantastically well since the last time the people watching / listening to this would have heard it, because we had a barbecue. We actually got together in physical, corporeal form, didn't we?
We did.
We ate some meat, and we chatted, and we drank beer, and we had a great time, which was wicked.
Yeah.
But gaming-wise, I've actually not been up to much. I've played some Rocket League. But I have delved into a bit of Warzone, the new map.
Same.
I couldn't really tell any difference, if I'm being honest.
Boom.
I'm not surprised. Hold on, I'm not surprised because I'm convinced that Jonesy has face blindness.
My
and I think
attention
that
to
probably
detail
goes into it.
is like non-existent already. Okay, like I've played that map. I think I was looking at my stats the other day. I think I've played 122 games of Warzone now, and I still, if someone says, "Oh, let's go to Superstore," I still have to check the map and look for the Superstore and like the name Superstore. I'm like, I don't know the map at all. And then they made a new map, which is a little bit different. Like, surprise, surprise, it basically looks identical to me. Like,
yeah. The colours are different though. Like, it feels like there's a filter on everything, right? Everything's greener.
Matt, I didn't even notice that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like,
never mind.
But it's fine. It feels like Warzone. It's fine. Some people are annoyed, which is fine. I still have not won a single match of Warzone, like a proper battle royale match of Warzone.
No,
still,
come
mate.
on.
If you look at stats, I've got like 25 or 30 top 10 finishes of the 120 games I've played. I've got people in my friends list who have played half the number of matches I've got. I've got half the kill to death ratio I've got, who have won like 2 or 3 matches, and I've never won one.
Oh, dude. So what we really need to do is stream over on your channel, right?
And win one.
And we just go until we win. If it takes
What's it called when you
8
can't
hours,
perform?
8 hours.
What's it called when you can't perform at the end? Like where you can't finish a thing.
Like erectile dysfunction.
No, like there's a thing like. I guess it's like performance anxiety.
Stage fright.
Stage fright.
Yeah.
Like when I get to the show, right, which is like the final 10, it just falls apart. My ability to...
That's a very awkward conversation to have as well, when you have to be like, look, this has been great, but it's not coming out.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's nothing personal. Like, you can tell from the last couple of minutes. Like,
starting to go numb a bit.
Everything's fine. Like, it got there. Just the stuff isn't going to come out.
Yeah. It's just the friction now is, taking over. And
which is the perfect segue.
And then she's like, it's got to be me. I'm the reason the stuff isn't coming out. I'm like, no.
Which is, Jamie, you've made the segue even better. This is the perfect segue into a film that I watched that Chris recommended, which was Palm Springs.
Hell
yes!
Yeah. We've all three seen this now.
Yeah, it's so good.
Because, did you watch the trailer?
I accidentally watched a trailer.
Okay.
Because we had said, like, going into it absolutely blind would probably be a lot better.
I went into it blind to the point where the first 10, 15 minutes, I was like, what is this going to be? Is this guy God?
So
I thought it was either a God or a ghost.
Oh, right. So I'm not going to give away anything then, because I think if people haven't seen it, it'll be fun for them to watch it and not know anything. But the reason that was a great segue is because the movie almost starts with Andy Samberg waking up in the morning and he happens to mention about his girlfriend's leg. He's like, that's a great leg. And she's like, well, come on, we can bone quickly. And then he can't finish. And then she's like, you can finish yourself off. And then he says, it's not you, it's me. And she says, well, yeah, obviously. And immediately I said to my wife, it's not his fault, it's hers if she can't sort him out. Well, if he can't finish, then she needs to mix up her technique.
Wow, there you go.
Hey, we wouldn't blame a woman, would we? If she couldn't finish off, we wouldn't tell her it was her fault. Maybe.
Oh, no, that's a lot of guys. I absolutely do that.
A lot of
no, but Jamie, you can't do that because that's self-censor. You got to self-censor.
Yeah, sorry, you're Chris. You're absolutely right. I don't tell them. I just tweet it to them afterwards. You didn't come. It was your fault.
All right, but Jonesy, thoughts on it though.
They said,
let's get back to Palm Springs.
I had sex with full fat Jamie, didn't come, and I go, I think you need to do your research, and I link them to the store page for the Kama Sutra.
I know. I just like you reply and go, yeah, neither did I. which I think coming from a guy is a much bigger burn.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
True.
Anyway, Palm Springs. No, enjoyable film. I'm a fan of Lonely Island. I have been for a long time, and I didn't realize it was a Lonely Island film. I did have it spoiled in the fact that I saw Andy Samberg, obviously, in the trailer, and then they do say something in the trailer which really annoyed me that they'd said it, because it gives away the whole
about
plot
the premise.
Yeah, it ruined it. Ruining it. But no, it was still very enjoyable. It was a new take on something we've all seen before, but I'm not going to tell you what that is because I'd like people to enjoy it for what it is. Yeah, funny, like stupid. Had a great time, and it's got I can never remember his name.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah. Oh, he's great in it as well.
He's wicked. Have you seen the roided out picture of him?
Oh,
I don't think I have.
yes, at the gym.
Yes, where he's like, he's all vascular, his biceps are popping out, and he's got that grizzly old beard.
Is
He
it
looks like
recent?
an absolute beast. I think it's probably maybe a year ago, 18 months ago.
I
something
want to
like that.
say it was his workout. As weird as it's going to sound, his workout regime for Batman for
He's
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah. Although to be fair, so I've typed it in. I'm looking at the pictures, and I'm also reminded of the fact that he was kind of yoked in Whiplash. You
Yeah.
remember he wears that
Yeah.
tight black t-shirt, and his guns look kind of nice in it.
Not like this dude. Like,
No, but still, like in Whiplash, he looks kind of like surprisingly intense, given that he could look like an
Okay.
old frail man.
oh,
You know
I
what's-
see what you mean. I see what you mean.
You know what's really interesting about
Oh, actually, he is.
J.K.
I just saw a
Simmons?
picture of it. Yeah, it does.
Say again,
Yeah, go
Chris.
on.
Do you know what the really interesting thing about J.K. Simmons
Hmm?
is he, for the longest time, probably since it had a voice, he is the voice behind the yellow M&M in the ads.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't
Even
know
to
that.
this day. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. I wonder if that's one of those lifetime roles he just got when he was, slightly less visible.
I mean, it's an easy gig, right? Surely.
I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose so.
We used to work with a guy whose dad was the voice of the meerkat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's another one. That's one of those. Having spoken to and met some actors in my life and heard about how things work on kind of commercial deals and how much money you can get paid, not just for being in them, but when they get replayed. And
Yeah.
so every time I see one of those people who's just like, your entire career, like, again, this might be UK centric, but the Go Compare guy who's an opera singer who appears in
Right.
car insurance adverts. I'm just like, you're set for life, bro. You've been in adverts that have been on primetime television nonstop for over a decade now. You are set for life.
It gets even
Probably.
better with him, isn't it? Because at one point they try to go away from him as the Go Compare guy, and they tried a different, like, what's the word? Like, a different face of the company, and
Right.
they were huge backlash saying, "No, we want the fucking annoying opera singer," and they just got him back.
You say set for life, but I will point out that it wasn't that long ago that on, is it called First Dates, the restaurant
Oh, yeah,
program that they had, is it Harold from the Halford ads? Is his name Harold?
Oh, right, Halifax.
Halifax.
Yeah, he was the bald black guy with little glasses. Who,
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Who
who
gives you extra?
he was on that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that guy." I remember he used to sing on the Halifax ads, and I don't think he's doing it anymore. So if you're not set,
Yeah.
for life, but
I don't know if he quite did them for long enough and during the right era. I guess I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I just remember meeting someone who was in one advert once, and they were like, "Yeah, if you get the right advert, you could do pretty well out of it." Maybe
Okay.
set for life's
Oh,
the wrong way of putting it, though. I don't know.
But they can get Christmas songs. That's where you want to go.
Dude,
If
yeah.
you get a banger of a Christmas song every year, you're like, how are you going to pay for the insane Christmas that you do every year? Don't worry, I'll wait until November, and then the royalty checks will start rolling in again.
the Mariah Carey effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
it's you just have to dominate a role. You have to be synonymous, right? Like Charles Martinet as Mario. Like, you got to be irreplaceable. You got to be the dude that no one else can do what you do.
Absolutely.
True.
And then you're set for life. And it doesn't matter if you ever do it again. It's because you're the only one that can do it.
Yeah.
Very
you're not
true.
wrong. You're not wrong. Fingers crossed we each manage to find our niche in the future, because it ain't this.
Fucking hell.
I played some Warzone as well this past week, and I think that new map is okay, if not sufficiently different from the old one. And
Really?
I also think,
Okay.
do you remember this time last week we were halfway through the event, kind of awkwardly?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did play through the destruction of Verdansk Part 2, and again, slightly underwhelmed. It was just another
Yeah.
temporary mode that took place on Rebirth Island, followed by a cutscene. That seems to be the extent of what Call of Duty can do nowadays. Slightly different game mode and a cutscene. Enjoy. Off you go.
Have you collected the Adler info stuff?
Nah, I'm not that fussed about it. It's like a
Okay.
That's another example of like Call of Duty's doing an event. What is that event? Oh, it's just there are 3 new contracts that are essentially scavenger contracts with a slightly different logo, and if you do 3 of them in 3 different places, you get a skin.
Okay, that was going to be my question, because I saw them and I was like, I'm not really sure.
They're
what
just
these are.
scavengers,
Okay.
Yeah.
basically. I don't know. That game's weird. It's fun. It's one of a kind, but clearly not designed to benefit from live stuff in the way that stuff like Fortnite is. But we got into that discussion last week, more or less. I played a lot of Disco Elysium over the last couple of weeks. That's the big dog that's been taking up a lot of my time.
Have completely
caught me off guard
sucked off by it?
I am at the moment. I'm actually startled by how engaged I am, because I'm not a tabletop, RPG kind of guy. I'm not, a dice roll kind of guy, traditionally speaking.
Oh, I beg to differ, mate. I've played with you and you got well into it.
Oh, see, no, there's a difference between enjoying dressing up and playing pretend and enjoying tabletop shit.
Right, fair enough.
I'm an actor. I was trying to think of what the fancy word for actor is, but not coming to me. I'm an actor.
Actor.
I'm a performer. I'm an actor. That's what you saw coming out during that. But with this, it was I just found it very intimidating for a long time, and that's why I held off. And now that I'm into it, and I have given it some time and made sure all my play sessions are when I've got at least a couple of hours to delve into it, I really enjoyed. I mean, unsurprisingly, given how well it reviewed and stuff like that, the narrative is the main draw for me so far. I just think that writing is super unique. And when it's at its darkest and its funniest and its most quick fire, its most rapid fire, it really kind of feels one of a kind. And that dialogue system is just it has a depth to it that I hadn't experienced for a little while. And certainly, compared to the Bethesda or the BioWare approach to that kind of stuff, it really feels like it's on another level, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which I suppose was because the first iteration of this game before the director's cut was all written, right? So they didn't have to worry about voice and length and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right.
I just kind of went into it. I was going to say I went into it with no preconceived ideas. So the first mistake I made was you do a character build, and it's kind of like you're putting points into certain stats. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but let's say one of them is kind of intellect, and another one is more of an emotional intelligence, and another one is kind of a strength, kind of dexterity. And I was like, oh, well, I guess the baseline, which is 1, is probably you just being standard, and then you go above that. That's usually how it works, right?
Yeah.
Turns out the baseline is not 0, but it's less than 0. So I didn't put enough points into my intellect. So basically, my guy's just really fucking dumb. And this is a game where you
open
play as
the
a
door,
guy.
huh?
Literally, and so there are skill checks and everything, and depending on your level, you can fuck up immediately. You start in a room where you wake up, you've got amnesia, you're kind of hungover, and your necktie is hanging from a ceiling fan. If you fail a skill check to get your necktie down, you can accidentally hang yourself and die and get game over in the first 10 minutes.
Wow.
So a lot, but it's one of those games where you're meant to roll with the punches and
and that's where Jamie had to start again.
No,
because his character killed himself.
I very nearly died because I agreed to sit in an extremely uncomfortable chair, and it knocked. You've actually got health, and it knocked one piece of health off. So I was 1 health, but luckily you can heal kind of manually as you go.
What happens if you died? You just get to load a save.
Yeah. You can load a save. There's auto saves and quick saves, and you can save scum to make sure you pass certain checks if you really want to play that way. But the thing is, it encourages you to not play that way. Failure is it's a game that's. They've wrote hundreds of thousands of lines of dialogue for this thing, and there's meant to be an eventuality for however you play, and you can fuck things up and things can still go well, and I think that's what really is the genius of some of that writing, is that it's so all encompassing that I've been an idiot, but I just roll with the punches, and you have a philosophical and a kind of a political alignment. You can become more of a communist, and you might get communist related side quests. And I got in loads of trouble with my partner because I keep begging for money to everyone we talk to, and he thinks it's me taking bribes, and I guess I kind of am. And even the central mystery, it's a murder mystery, is surprisingly engaging. And if you just want to focus on that, there's already been a lot of twists and turns. It's weird and it's different, and it's something I didn't think I'd enjoy, but I've given it the time, and I'm glad I have so far. Yeah.
It seems like one of those games that whoever I speak to that's played it just absolutely fucking loves it. I wish I could get into it, but I just don't have the time.
Bro, I genuinely, like I said, I was intimidated. And I just thought this isn't going to click. I bought it because of the reviews, and it's not going to work. But I've been really pleasantly
Are you playing it on
surprised.
PC?
Playing on PC, yeah. Although the director's cut or whatever it's called, extended edition, I'm not sure, that's now available on pretty much everything, I think. And that's the one that introduced full voiceover for every single character in the game. And based on my experiences thus far, I can't imagine playing it without it.
Right.
If I were to give one criticism, I'll just quickly say, I think it's slightly overwritten at times. And I can't tell if that's like a criticism that I'm generally making or if it's just an incompatibility between myself and the game. But sometimes it goes a little bit too, like, you know, when you're talking to someone in a BioWare game or a Bethesda game, and you have 4 dialogue options, and you realize immediately one of them progresses the quest and gives you vital info, and the other 3 are exposition.
Yes.
That happens quite a lot in this game as well, I think. And it almost makes you feel like you should be listening to everything, but that's like a lot of listening. And sometimes it's very wordy in a way that I'm like, okay, like...
Yeah, like, hurry up now.
But then they added in all this fucking voiceover, so should I read it and skip when I finish reading, or should I let the guy finish talking? Am I interrupting you, Mr. Voiceover Man? I'm sorry.
I used to feel like I always had to listen to all the exposition, like even in Outriders now, when it's like you can ask about stuff. I'm like, nah, just go for the main mission quest dialogue. I don't need to hear about all that other stuff.
Yeah, totally. And I guess you can get away with that in Disco Elysium. It rewards things, but it also doesn't punish others. So, interesting little game. Not for everyone, but weirdly ended up being for me. I also watched Mortal Kombat this week.
Did it?
Good.
Don't ask me if it's good. Ask me if I liked it.
Did you like it?
Yes.
Fun?
Yes, it's fun. Yes, it's fun. It's guy. You both already know what to expect with this thing. It's a fucking Mortal Kombat film. There are fatalities. Someone says, get over here. Someone says flawless victory. You know, someone's heart gets ripped out. Someone's head explodes. You know, it's good fun in the way that you want a Mortal Kombat film to be. Kind of, do you remember when we were talking about Sonic and we were like, hey, the Sonic film made a lot of people realize that it's not about being identical to the games or like staying true to every single thing that the games did or said, but it's just about having a very obvious reverence for the source material and being self-aware and having fun with it, and that's what this film does.
Okay.
So
and it's done really well, right? Like it's made
like
shit tons of money.
It was #1 at the box office in the US over the weekend, and I
hasn't even released in the UK yet.
No, it's actually out in the UK next week on Thursday. It just got a release date.
Well, I'm gonna have to wait then. How did you watch it, Jamie?
Oh, I've got a friend who
what do you call it? VPN? What do you call it? Did Netflix?
Yeah. My friend Victor Peter Nelson. He lives in the
Victor
States
Peter Nelson Torrent.
No. He used the VPN.
Torrent.
I paid. I bought it on Amazon Prime US full price.
Yeah.
With a VPN that I pay for full price. Yep. Shout out to NordVPN if you want to save 15% on NordVPN.
Or if you're from NordVPN and you want to sponsor our podcast, please.
Totally, it's good. I think Hood in the Discord said just put it on and have a load of beers with you, and that's probably good advice.
Yeah, switch your brain off, open your eyes.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, there's some silly shit in there. There's some bad writing. There's some bad acting, but it's a fucking Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, but there's Goro, bro.
There's Goro. There's Goro, and there's gore. Like that's the other thing that this film immediately has over the 90s version is that like fucking there's gore in this. Like there's like good amount at times.
There's no Chun-Li, right?
Do you know what there's no Chun-Li, but also the thing I thought you were going to say is also true. I don't know if this is a spoiler. I don't think it is. There's no Johnny Cage.
Oh yeah, I read that actually. Yeah.
And that's a bummer.
But doesn't that fit with the lore or something? Apparently,
not based on the original set. They've played it pretty fast and loose in terms of which characters get in on this time.
I must admit, I do not follow beat 'em up lore or fighting game lore at all. I don't think it needs to exist.
Fair. Well, Mortal Kombat, I disagree with you on, but there you go.
You just punch each other in the face. Who cares? Oh, he's his brother, and he's his disgruntled cousin.
I agree.
And he once stepped on his foot, and now wants to beat him in the throat.
No, because Bihan was the old Sub-Zero, and now he's Noob Saibot, and Noob Saibot is Boone and Tobias backwards.
Nobody cares.
No, I don't know. Well, I have reverence for it, as this film has for the games, which is good. But should we talk about some news?
Yes.
Sure, if we have to. people did mention they wanted us to cover the news in some form.
Well, I'll let those people know up front that there wasn't a huge amount happening this week. A lot of this is just going to be us extrapolating and maybe conversing around things around the stories themselves, because there's not that much meat on the bone. But we start with the wonderful world of Sony and their first-party exclusives, which there's been a lot of talk about lately, I feel like, both positive and negative. This one specifically, though, about the future of The Last of Us, because Neil Druckmann was on a podcast this week, and he said that while the third game in the series is not in development, there is a storyline that exists right now that he has written up with, I think it's pronounced Hallie Gross, something like that, and that he hopes it can, quote, one day see the light of day. So I guess the question...
it will.
That's the thing, like, do you actually think a Last of Us 3 will happen at some point? That sounds like you're firmly in camp yes, right?
Yeah,
CJ?
Of course it will.
Well, just for money reasons.
Yeah,
because the Last of Us 2...
but there's also this creativity thing, right? Where as an auteur, right, as someone who crafts worlds, like the Druckmann or Dr. Uckman, as he likes to be called, if you've got an itch of an idea in your head, that idea will stay in your head until you get it down, right?
Yes, it's something that often happens. Yes. As a creative myself,
especially if you have the outlet to actually do it. I'm not saying like, oh, I've got an idea for a game. I'm never going to make a fucking game. But like, hey, guess what? Fucking Naughty Dog, they can make games. And if he's got an idea for a game and people are on board and he is who he is, it's going to be made. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised though if what happened with The Last of Us 2 would just like put you off.
And I will say it didn't sound like much fun to make, and it also didn't sound like much fun to put into the hands of quote unquote fans in some cases. So,
I mean, and you just know that anything you do, you're going to be raked over the coals for anything you do in the third. Anything you do to even be seemingly, something that the fans don't love 100%, you're going to get raked over the coals for. So I can imagine just being like, do you know what? That story can stay in my head. That's the law of what goes on next. But I'm never telling anyone else what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you don't go and say on the record saying that you hope that one day it could see the light of day.
No, that's very true.
That's true. He also said that it explores, quote, what happens after The Last of Us Part 2, which again is kind of open-ended. Do you think they could ever go back to either Ellie or Abby after how people
did you not hear what he had said about the alternate ending that they had, the original ending that they had of Last of Us Part 2?
I don't think I heard about this, no.
It's not drastically different. It's just that Ellie goes back to
Abby's head in.
Is this a spoiler alert?
Not really.
Okay.
Ellie goes back to the farm.
Yes.
Okay. The farm is empty. And Ellie picks up a toy and then walks out. So it's less ambiguous as to what she's doing.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is actually a really big difference.
It's a big difference in a very simple
hang
way.
on, I'm missing something. Why is that less ambiguous? The implication there is that
she's going to
go and find the son.
Yeah. I don't think it's I don't think the initial ending was ambiguous. I think it was pretty obvious that I've changed my mind.
I thought it was ambiguous.
I thought it was more ambiguous at the time.
I suppose the only thing that clears up is where is she going?
Yeah.
Or at least what is she going to try and find? Whereas the ending that we got was a little bit more like we don't have to ever see this person again.
Yeah, exactly.
Really.
She put up her guitar. She can't play the guitar anymore. She's let go of Joel, and she's
I'll give you
walking out. It could have ended there. Totally.
No, I give you that the initial the ending we've got is ambiguous to some degree because you don't know. There is still an element of unknown. Whereas if she picks up the toy, I suppose it's not.
Yeah, the idea would be as Neil Druckmann said, like she picks up the toy and she's going to go find them.
I told you guys I came up with the best idea for a third installment of that series. It would have been so good.
I can't remember. Can you do it?
I can't remember it.
What's the Cliff Notes version? Yeah, it was so good that I've completely.
Oh, you both hated it, so that's probably why you've blocked it from your memory. The Cliff Notes version was, the Ellie and the son go off when he's older, and they encounter another because they go to get a cure that's apparently been made at this place, and they're giving to people to cure them of the thing, and they're like, oh, we can go and get the cure and we can bring it back and we can save humanity. but it turns out that they don't have a cure. They're actually injecting people with stuff to make them into zombies, whatever you want to call them, and they inject the son, but Ellie thinks he's cured, but he's not, because he gets injected. And then he thinks he's cured, but he's not cured. And then he gets bitten, and then he actually gets it. And then they find out there is someone who might actually have a real cure. And then Ellie's got to go and admit that she's immune, and then she has to, but like, loads of bullshit around that. But yeah, that's the Cliff Notes version. So it was almost like her connecting with Dina's kid, but in a sort of way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Long and rambly.
Here's an alternate one. The third alternate ending of The Last of Us Part 2. She goes back to the farm, picks up the guitar. Turns out she can still play it just as well, and says, right, it's time to get the band back together. And The Last of Us 3 is just a Guitar Hero clone where you play as, and the band's called like Ellie and the Infected. And
but it's only 3 strings.
Yeah, exactly. And the only song you can play is Take On Me.
Okay, how would you feel? Here's a question. How would you feel if they did a third entry and it turns out that Joel... is it spoilers? Can I say?
I mean, I don't think it's spoilers.
I think we kind of heavily implied this earlier as well.
How would you feel if it turned out Joel didn't die and he survived?
Oh no, they would set the world on fire.
Yeah, that's retconning. Like,
but he had amnesia because he'd got where he'd been hit in the head. He'd got amnesia and he couldn't remember who he was. And Ellie just happens to hear about this bloke and she bumps into him and it's Joel. And she's
who was in the coffin. He is. Hold on. He escapes, and then Abby's like, "Oh shit, he's escaped. Let's get someone else." Beat his face to a pulp with a golf club, so you can't tell who it is. Because there's no medical records that people can kind of trace back to.
I've got it. The reason why Ellie's relationship with Joel in The Last of Us Part 2 is so contentious, and the reason they sometimes get on or sometimes arguing, is because Joel is actually 2 people, identical twins with split personalities, and that's so that Ellie has to pretend as one person to keep up appearances. And they only killed one Joel. They killed the good Joel, and now the bad Joel is still out for revenge.
Evil Joel.
Yeah. So, Neil Druckmann, get in touch. We've got the answers. I got a question for you guys. Should Neil Druckmann change his name to Duckman?
Yes.
I think yes. I think he's at a stage in his career where he needs to be taken more seriously.
Yeah. Do you think he could be like Darkwing Duck and call himself Duckman?
I think he should go for something more impactful than Duckman. Maybe like Neil Fuckman.
Fuckman.
I like it.
Now we're talking.
Zuckman.
Zuckerberg. Neil Zuckerberg.
He just changed his name to Zuckerberg for no apparent reason. Like, just the weirdest thing that ever happened in the games industry.
Just so that when angry Last of Us fans go, "Oh, are you Neil Druckmann?" He goes, "I'm Neil Zuckerberg." And they're like, "I don't know what you're talking about, mate." And they just walk on by.
Yeah, weird. Well, we'll keep tabs on that. Obviously, everything Naughty Dog related seems a little bit up in the air at the moment.
Yeah,
given what
I'm looking forward to be 60 and playing The Last of Us Part 3.
Yeah. There's an interesting thing there. Like, if you were a Neil Druckmann or a Cory Barlog right now, and you know the easy move is to make a sequel because it sells, are you nervous or are you excited by the prospect of making something completely new and having your entire reputation almost be reevaluated based on that new thing? Because gamers have such short-term memories. I guess
that's a good question.
They're going to be different from person to person, right? But it's
I guess it's definitely different for Neil and Corey. Just
totally. But the idea of like a completely new Neil Druckmann-led Naughty Dog IP after what is now almost a decade, 2 years shy of a decade of just The Last of Us and Uncharted, kind of intriguing.
Yeah, I think it's safer. I actually think it's safer making new IP because they can seal off Uncharted and Last of Us as tour de force in the video gaming industry without ruining the memory of those games by with sequels that are official like lore-based games
and preconceived notions, right? Like you don't have any preconceived notions. I guess that was part of the backlash of The Last of Us Part 2 is people went in with preconceived notions and.
I think if you want to look at Kojima, right, like no one can ever take Metal Gear Solid away from him. Like that's his. No matter what he does with Kojima Productions, people are still going to say, yeah, but what about this? What about that? Whereas if he'd have made Kojima Productions and then he'd have released Metal Gear Solid 6, or just basically that game, then people could have turned around and easily said, "Oh, it was shit. It wasn't really him. It was all about, the team behind it. You know, it wasn't actually about him." So I think it's quite safe to move on to new IP.
Yeah, I suppose if you've got the idea right, and if you've got a team that's behind it, and you've just got to kind of back yourself in the way you did before you made the thing that made your name.
Yeah.
Get back to making games that people like obsess about, right?
Exactly. And speaking of games that people obsess about, be it positively or negatively, one game that seemingly can never escape the news, and maybe that's our fault, or maybe it's theirs, I don't know, is Cyberpunk 2077. And don't worry, we're not actually talking about the game this time.
Can I just, before we get into this, can I tell you that yesterday I was thinking, should I play Cyberpunk last night?
Oh,
I played
you obviously
Chivalry.
decided not.
I played Chivalry instead, and then I was in it for the long haul, and then it turns out that Chivalry was like a half-hour thing. So it's like, okay, should I play Cyberpunk? And then I just played some Dota. So.
There was a new update as well, like a couple of days.
Yeah,
it
was hotfix 1.22, I think.
Right, that so far since the big update the other month, they've averaged a new hotfix every 2 weeks, which isn't a bad tempo if they can keep that up.
Don't get me wrong, I want to go back in, I want to finish it, but...
Oh, bro, like, I still think that one day there's maybe going to be an opportunity for us to do the most delayed spoiler cast of all time or something. Because, like, we're probably all three going to end up finishing at some point. And although I think it got spoiled for me the other day, I think I heard a twist that was kind of predictable, but...
Okay. I think, I've definitely had, not the ending, but I've definitely had parts of that game ruined for me. By
don't say anything, because I haven't...
I'm not.
But yes, this week we're talking not about the game itself, but about some of the business end of stuff, because obviously one of the things that made Cyberpunk notable was the fact that refunds were a big part of its release, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was taken off the PlayStation Store. Sony and Microsoft were both pretty liberally offering refunds, and CD Projekt Red themselves set up their own Help Me Refund program that, as the name would suggest, helped people refund the game if they were unhappy with the product they purchased. And we now know the knock-on effects of those programs and some of the other things happening around refunds. Specifically on CD Projekt Red side, the Help Me Refund program handled 30,000 refunds, which amounts to 1.6 million in spending on their part. So really,
nothing.
Yeah, tiny compared to everything else going on in that company.
I'm baffled that many people returned it, if I'm being honest.
I'm not. I'm baffled it's not higher.
Well,
but there is a reason why it's not higher.
Yeah, and I will say, Chris, that and we don't know the numbers for this because it involves other storefronts, but we can kind of look at the finances and how much CD Projekt Red set aside to evaluate the total number, if you include, say, Sony Store and Microsoft Store and various other physical storefronts even, that the total amount that CD Projekt Red might have spent or set aside to handle refunds is closer to £37 million.
Right, okay.
Which is a bigger dent. Not huge, not overwhelming for a company that generated 400 million in revenue. And I think their profit was still in the £200 million range.
Yeah, it was their most successful revenue year ever, right?
Yes, and 13.7 million copies of the game sold in 2020 alone. So basically inside that first month.
And you'd have to imagine that when they come out with the next gen patch that they could see another bump.
Yeah, that's what I was actually thinking. Is it's actually good that it's not on like PlayStation Store and stuff at the moment, because when that game drops and comes next gen, if it is just sold as a PlayStation 5 as an Xbox Series X game, then you're going to get you're going to get a bump, I think. You're going to get a whole load of people who waited. You're going to get a whole load of people, actually, funnily enough, who couldn't get hold of PlayStation 5s, so maybe would have got this game if they had, but then couldn't get hold of a PlayStation 5, so waited, or an Xbox Series X. And then they will, when it comes to next gen, they'll have the PlayStation ready to go. They'll want to get that game and play it in a better form, and you'll see a bump again by the end of this year. Which, let's just hope that when they drop those new versions, that there's less of a, I don't know how to put it, less of a shit show of a launch, and that people get to enjoy it a bit more.
You know what the problem is with the game is it's because it's not a bad game. It's really enjoyable. But it's not what people think it is. So what it really needs is just a bit of a different marketing push, but they're not going to do any marketing because I mean the game's the game now.
Do you not think they'll try and market the next gen? But I think they may try and push the next.
Oh,
gen
dude, you'll get like a next gen trailer and that's it.
Right, maybe.
Why spend more money like than you need
to make more money? Not I would have thought. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. But they would have to rein in like some of the comments about RPG elements, some of the comments about what you can expect to do. They absolutely would have to change the messaging around that.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if they do it. There's been a lot of conversation lately around the tail of some of these games with the next gen transition. Chris, I remember you came to us, I can't remember how long it was, with the numbers around Spider-Man Miles Morales, which has just been
mental,
insane compared to other Sony first party.
I don't remember what they were, but they were like more than The Last of Us Part 2, more than Ghost of Tsushima. It was kind of mad.
I was listening to someone discuss the other day, they were asked their opinions on Horizon Forbidden West and whether or not there was this fear within Sony that are there enough PS5s out there to justify a game like that at the moment, or do you wait? And apparently what Miles Morales illustrated obviously would have sold well on the PS4 as well, like you bought it, Chris. Yeah. But what they're finding is that, hey, a good amount of people bought PS5s at launch and own PS5s now. Almost all of them bought Miles Morales. And every single month, another huge chunk of people buy PS5s, and they're also all buying Miles Morales.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to, right? It's the game that you have to buy with your PlayStation 5.
And but there was sorry, Jamie, there was also a bunch of PlayStation statistics that come out. I don't have them in front of me, but I remember reading that PlayStation 5 has sold just a little bit more than the PlayStation 4 sold in the same time period.
Mm.
So imagine if they'd have had the supply.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the point, right? So it's actually maybe the best situation for what's it called, Forbidden West or whatever it's fucking called.
Yeah.
Because exactly right. It's you got all these people with this install base that are waiting. They're waiting for content. It was like when the Switch launched and all you had was like Zelda and 1-2 Switch. And it's like, okay, well, what were you just waiting for the next big one? And then as soon as it comes out, guess what? It sells fucking gangbusters because it's the next big one.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know. It's weird, though, because now that the PlayStation 5 has had its launch, I don't know that Forbidden West feels like a must-buy game in the same way that Miles Morales did for me. Like, there was no question in my mind about whether or not I was going to get Miles Morales, because it was like, how do you want to experience what the PlayStation 5 has to offer? You have to play Miles Morales because you can compare it in your mind to Spider-Man. You can see the faster swing rate. You can see the graphics. You can turn 60 frames on. You can turn cinematic mode on. Almost like when they drop games like, was it Rise Son of Rome came out with Xbox, and although apparently it wasn't the best game, it was one you had to play because it looked so good. And it was like, it looks great. Everyone bought that game. I even wanted to buy that game and don't have an Xbox. But just because it looks so good. And I think Miles Morales is that, whereas I don't think there's the same like need to buy Forbidden West as there is with Miles Morales.
I disagree, because people always need to justify their purchases. You spending all this money on a PS5. You're not buying a PS5 to play PS4 games at a better frame rate.
No,
not mainly, but you know, what you want is those new games, you want those new experiences, and you'll fucking lap them up. You watch. So we're gonna miss it because it's happening just before we're recording, but the PlayStation State of Play for the new Ratchet Clank game, that's going to sell. I bet you that's going to be the best-selling Ratchet Clank game they've ever released. Because
I fucking can't wait for that game.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it looks cool. I mean, I can't wait for it, but I don't have a PlayStation 5, so fuck me.
Even
but like,
sorry.
No. The fact of the matter is, it's a good time to release these games, and if you're telling me that you're not sure if they're going to be successful, you're mad, because people need to justify spending that money or spending that amount of time trying to track down a PlayStation 5, and they're not doing it so they can play old games.
No, I agree with all of that. I'm not saying it won't be successful, but I think Miles Morales for me stands out. And the reason being is because it came out on launch. So even though millions of people got a PlayStation 5 at launch, you may well have people now who buy one and then Forbidden West comes out and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to get that game. But in my head, like, most of the people that already own the PlayStation 5s aren't saying I have to own that. And if you look at how expensive the games are, like, I didn't even buy Cold War yet because I was like, do you know what? Do I really want to spend 70 quid on a Call of Duty game, even though it's a PlayStation 5 title? I definitely didn't feel the need to go out and...
Although it's not exclusive, Jonesy, I think the situation,
also,
the discussion around exclusives,
it's also not 70 quid because of that, because it's cross generation. Because you could have bought the PS4 version, and it would have given you the PS5 one
of Cold War.
Yeah,
right, but Jesus, what we were just talking about? Was it Forbidden West is going to be 70 quid? So what I'm saying is, you're now saying after the release, after everything's happened, it's going to be another am I going to justify 70 quid on another PlayStation 5 game? It will be successful. Will it be Miles Morales successful? I would be really surprised.
No, of course it won't be, because it's not. Because
very
because you forget Miles Morales is on PS4 as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what the split of revenue was actually.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
And also millions of people own PS5s, and what you find a lot of the time, and I think we can all attest this somewhat, is that in for a penny, in for a pound. If you're spending fucking 400 quid on a console, you can buy a game or two with it. Like, people write off those purchases within other larger ones. $70 on its own becomes kind of weird.
Look at Jonesy. He bought fucking Demon Souls.
I did.
Bro, I've got Demon Souls. I haven't even opened it. I've got fucking Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Like, new console releases are hype.
Dude, tell me about it. When I was at university, the PSP had come out, right? But you couldn't get it in South Africa initially. So through my channels, I got a PSP. And it's like, nice. I need games for this. And it was just when it came out. It's like, I need games for it. Do you know what fucking games I got? I got a Dynasty Warriors and I got NBA Street. Those are the only games I had for the longest time. And do you know why? Because they were the only games I could get my hands on. When I got my 3DS, what was the very first game I bought on my 3DS?
Mario.
Splinter Cell 3D. Because that was that was one of the launch games.
You're definitely right about the crying out for content on that platform. And you're right, the Switch is an interesting analogy, because you're right, the Switch, they need more content, like first party content on that. And first party PlayStation content does always smash it. I think I do think it would do well, Horizon, but I don't. I suppose.
Do you know what opened my eyes a little bit to that thirst in this past week was the Returnal preview cycle, which made that game go from like this kind of weird little niche thing to all of a sudden a lot of people were kind of curious about it in a way that I didn't expect it to ramp up that quickly. And I think if Forbidden West is like, I don't know like how much they can push the barriers in a year from console launch, but if it is visually unreal, maybe that's, I don't know. By the way, a bit of live reporting: the Returnal review embargo dropped since we've been live. It's sitting on an 87 on OpenCritic, 86 on Metacritic.
Decent.
That's healthy.
Pretty encouraging for Returnal. Do you know what else we'll be hoping for? High Metacritic scores and fan approval and fan rapture when it comes out later this year. It's going to be the grand old return of the Battlefield series, which we haven't seen since Battlefield 5 a couple of years ago. EA have confirmed it's happening. It's coming out this year. A bunch of different studios, but mostly DICE Studios and Criterion are working on this bad boy. That's apparently already in the polishing and balancing phase.
That's good to hear. That seems like normally we hear they're really struggling, they need some extra time.
Well, there's still time, Jonesy. But yeah, it is true. It is positive, but you got to think that if you're aiming for like a September release, then they would be polishing and balancing now.
Yeah. Plus, the rumor is that it's going to be announced sometime next month. Obviously, Battlefield 5 is going to be a free game with PlayStation Plus in May as well. So lots of Battlefield things coming together. Just a quick quote from the boss over at DICE. He says, "It has everything we love about Battlefield and takes all of it to the next level. Epic scale, all-out military warfare, crazy unexpected moments, game-changing destruction," Jonesy. Massive battles packed with more players and mayhem than ever before, all brought to life with the power of next-gen consoles and PCs. Of course, that last sentence some people have taken to mean, are they possibly leaving last-generation consoles behind to push this beast to the next level? Who knows?
Are they hydrobotting it?
Maybe they're taking it to the next level. Wow. But I think I was going to say the prospect of even if it comes out in last gen, the prospect of a next generation Battlefield game with, in their own words, game changing destruction and massive battles. I think there's a huge a huge gap in the market right now, especially if Call of Duty's going World War II, for a modern day or near future Battlefield game with fucking 64v64 matches, crazy levels of destruction. Like,
let me tell you,
really cool, yeah.
So obviously, Peaswad, who's one of our big boy patrons, he's fucking loves Battlefield and he streams it, and I watch him stream it sometimes. And let me tell you, like, even Battlefield 5, it just looks like a fun time, dude. It looks like a fun time.
Yeah.
What this title needs, and it has to have, right? Because it's mad if it doesn't, is cross-platform. And as soon as you get into that cross-platform thing, then fuck, dude. The you know,
I believe
the sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
I don't think there's anything official, but my understanding is that it will, off the record, be have sort of cross-platform.
Yeah.
I kind of think that, in a weird way, though, I think the problem they've got with Battlefield 6 is going to be that it's all to lose. Like, they're talking a really good game and everyone's excited, but at the same time, I don't think the world is the same as it was when they were releasing Battlefield 5. I mean, you look at Warzone and things like that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to pull people away from, you know, you got epic, massive battles. Like, yeah, we already have that. Like, the destruction stuff's a definite bonus. But for me, it's good to talk a big game, but then they have to
back it up.
They have to back it up, because if they don't back it up, it will be a very, very quick decline in my mind. It won't take long for people to play it and go, "Oh, this isn't as amazing as."
Which is almost what happened to the Battlefield 5 Battle Royale, right?
Like,
people played it. It was decent enough. We played some of it, but
it was fun.
It
was.
It
cool.
didn't have anything to kind of keep you into it.
True.
People are fickle these days with free games, with free-to-play games as well. Like, so available, it's tough.
It was like that. It's that classic thing of you don't just have to be good enough to be good. You have to be good enough to pull people away from the thing they already like. And people, you know, the longer people spend with games, whether it's Chris and Dota or myself and Warzone, and Jonesy and Rune,
great game.
The longer you spend with it, the more rope and lenience you allow it to be bad, even temporarily, before you move over to something else.
Yeah,
to have a bad patch, to have a bad season, you allow those games that leg room when you don't with something that's brand new. Will be interesting to see if they have another crack at the BR thing. Certain influencers and insiders certainly think that they will have another go. And Chris, you were saying that Dr. Disrespect has been even hyping up the potential for a new Battlefield.
Yeah,
VR.
I think because I think Dr. Disrespect is getting really kind of tired of the Warzone formula.
Right.
And his frustrations are evident when you watch him play. And I think
actually, so that's one thing sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But that's actually one thing I didn't think about. I wonder if it will come it could be that they come at the right time, and it's the fatigue, the Warzone fatigue, which actually does do them a service.
Technically, it couldn't be a better time for them to announce a Battlefield Battle Royale. Like, Verdansk 1984 is very much getting this kind of like, it's okay.
Yeah.
No one is shouting from the rafters saying how fucking good it is.
And it's not enough of a change to make people even
exactly. And I think and people are just getting. It's like, okay, well, this is stale. It's a game I've played every single day because I'm on fucking lockdown. Let's get the next thing. And if you look at the Apex model when they launched, all you have to do is get the right influencers involved in the launch. I'm not saying that Dr. Disrespect is going to be involved in it. You'd imagine that you would try and involve him in some way if you can.
Definitely.
You know, you get the right mixture of influencers, pay them enough money so they play it over Warzone, and guess what? Warzone decreases, Battlefield goes up. But we don't know if there is going to be a Battlefield Battle Royale. It would make sense, but it might be its own standalone thing, which is maybe not tied to Battlefield 6.
Find out more about some of those.
Yeah.
Although the Valorant model did seem to be get all the influencers to play it, and then the people will play it in reaction, and that just doesn't seem to have happened.
Well, I
don't know if we're both about to say the same thing, Chris, but like that's the biggest misconception about Valorant. It's not popular. Valorant is huge.
But streaming, is that not the thing that, like, streaming it's huge, but then in reality, like, not many people play it?
Apparently it's both.
Okay.
Like, apparently, in terms of the numbers you would hope to get for a game debuting in the way it did, in the genre it did, and how much it, like, land had to grab from other similar games, Apparently, it's doing just fine. Like they're happy with it.
It
Okay.
is.
So what's
it
the current?
is-
How's it doing currently?
It is 5th on Twitch, and it's got 140,000 viewers at the moment.
No, but see but that's what I'm saying. All the metrics about how much streaming is going on with Valorant is kind of irrelevant to me. I want to know how many people are actually
but
playing
I will
Valorant.
tell you that when you're talking about a free to play game, that is not irrelevant, because there's no barrier for you to say that
It is
140,000 people interested in Valorant aren't playing it as well.
No, but you can say that. If people are just watching streamers because they like I watch streamers who play games that I don't play because I like the streamers. So if you've got 140,000 people watching people play Valorant, but they don't play Valorant, then it's free to play, sure, but no one's spending any money in that game. So you effectively have.
But you see, the thing is about like, it's what I learned about League of Legends, especially when you're going from like League of Legends versus Dota 2, blah, blah, blah. You got to understand just how accessible League of Legends is. And you got to understand just how accessible a game Riot can make when they're making a game like Valorant. And it's the accessibility. It's the free to play.
Like I just looked up how many people are playing Valorant, and you always get the same stuff with Valorant. It's like the game's not dying because it's got peak viewers, and it gives you peak number of viewers watching it. How many channels are streaming it? I'm like, I don't care. Just tell me how many people are playing the damn game.
Well, you might never know because that's entirely controlled by Riot. It's not going through any kind of third-party client, and they won't say.
Yeah, there was a thing I'm looking at now from January of this year where Valorant's player count rose by 29% month on month and earnings went up 39% month on month. The implication possibly being that the investment they're making into influencers and Twitch is kind of keeping it current enough that more people keep trying it. Like the player count just keeps growing. I don't know if that reflects in the overall player count and kind of how many people drop off, but you're right. The way Riot control numbers means that all people like me and Chris can do is go, apparently it's really good.
But well, it's like Blizzard with World of Warcraft, right? They've stopped publishing the numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to admit.
Well, because in World of Warcraft's case, it's because they kept on going down each expansion.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help. It doesn't add anything to them if they show that it's going down. I guess it doesn't aid. Like they don't want you to know because then the narrative becomes, it's dying. It's a dying game. The numbers are going down.
Every single reply on Twitter, dead game,
dead game.
Because every game is dead according to Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Dota 2 is a dead game. It's the biggest esports in the world. Well, I shouldn't say biggest esports. It's the biggest prize pool esports in the world. Yeah, dead game.
Sorry, dead game.
Dead game. Don't know why I'm saying that. Dead game.
Show which game isn't dead.
Yeah.
And this is the last little news story before we put a bow on this podcast. It's the hottest new arrival. One of the most anticipated games of the year has finally crash landed on both PC and mobile devices. We've even got a man on the scene this week who has had personal, hands-on, real-time experience with, as again, one of the most anticipated titles of all time, perhaps.
Fuck me, what could it be?
I'm, of course, lads, talking about Brazzers, the game.
Brazzers put out a game.
Brazzers put out a game, and our very own Alex Jones has played it. Jonesy, we've got to come to you first. Tell us.
I have. I played the tutorial.
Wait, so this is not a bullshit thing.
This is not a wind-up. This is Brazzers, the game is real. You can download it right now.
We were going to talk about it. I'd never heard of it, so I thought I'd dip in because it's free. You can just sign up with a
Brazzers the game, yeah.
Brazzers the game, and I signed up.
Don't mind me, just looking at my phone quickly.
And I played the tutorial, and I can tell you that it is probably what you'd imagine. It is got some naked ladies. It's got some real. I guess what they've done is animate actual porn stars to put them into the game. There's some dialogue in there. There's actual recording.
I can tell you, Jonesy, not just any old porn stars, but 10 featured adult artists, including the likes of Sherry DeVille, Bella Danger, Phoenix Marie, Johnny Sins, Kieran Lee, and Geordie.
I can tell you that the voice acting is about on par with what you'd imagine from said actors. Do you know what? I played it for the 5 minutes of the little tutorial. It's hot trash, is what it is.
Wow.
It is one of those games that is obviously just there to serve a completely ulterior purpose. It seems like the gamification elements are boring. The animation stuff is
Jonesy,
lackluster.
I mean, I was fucking hell. Now I've got to pull the curtain.
This is absolutely
the behind the scenes. Jonesy, I was trying to get Brazzers as a as a sponsor.
Mate, they need to up their gameplay. Like, it is, because the whole point of this is what is to lead people into the Prime, like a Prime subscription to browsers, or to get, like,
probably right.
free stuff and that, and it feels like it. It is painful. It's one. They actually do
there are boobies in this.
There are, but it's like, so that doesn't make it a decent game. Some of those,
to be fair, if you want to see Braz's boobies, you just go into Pornhub, right?
Yeah, you just see somewhere else. Like, why you'd want to see a slightly worse,
but this could be it could be something fun, right? Like if they do FIFA does with Ultimate Team, but you have like ultimate boners.
It seems. Sorry, mate. Go on.
Nut-Taku say this game is a clicker.
Who says Nut-Taku?
Nut-Taku. That's where the game's being sold on PC.
Nut-Taku.
Let me look
published by Nut-Taku. Developed, by the way, for anyone interested, by Just Nice Things, the developers of Pocket Waifu.
I suppose when you're a company with the money that like someone like Brazzers probably got, I do wonder why you don't just make an actual interesting game and skin it with your sexy ladies. Like, why make a trash game that's just going to waste money?
Jonesy, who would you bone first in the game?
Who are these people that are available?
I don't know. I'm looking.
Sherry DeVille.
I'm looking at the tags for the game.
I don't know who these people are.
Animated sex, big ass, big tits, first person, hardcore, real life, POV, Nutaku exclusive, free to play, realistic, bisexual.
Okay, I didn't actually look who's in it. Let me see.
There's a memory album with videos in it. One of the videos starring Carolina Sweets is called "Stuck and Fucked."
Of course,
there's one with Phoenix Marie called "Misappropriation of Fun Bags."
How do I see? I'm trying to see if I can see who's in it.
That guy looks like he's flying. He's half the size of her. Oh, we didn't. That happened.
We didn't even talk about that.
Oh, we had so many funny jokes, by the way, everyone, about how the girl in Ratchet and Clank is called Rivet, but she should be called Nut, but you can't call her Nut. So the safe word is going to be Ratchet and Nut, and that's how you're going to let us know that you made it to the end of this podcast. And with that, we thank you all so much for joining us on this riveting, no pun intended, little Ratchet and Clank throwback nice. comedy journey. Whether you were listening to us on a podcasting platform of your choice or on Paisley Radio, or you're watching us on YouTube, remember to like the video, to rate it 5 stars, to leave us a friendly, happy comment, and don't forget to send us those DMs. Again, we're not going to pressure anyone into sending any dick pics.
No soliciting.
No soliciting. But again, Chris has a thirst for hot throbbing cocks. And on that note,
Gerard Butler, get in touch.
Yeah, exactly. Gerard Butler will be joining us next week. All the more reason to stay subscribed, to tune in, and we'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.